Hello guys, name's Charlie. Came here to make a video for you about how altar rules are dumb as hell. But I wanted to start this by saying that I am Charlie. I used to be L, but then our altar Max integrated. And because of that, I've been having some writer's block as far as the channel. Everything that's been uploaded post the integration video was pre-filmed and it was made by Ginger. Elle was pretty passionate about the channel, and they had a big passion for psychology, and I still do. I do for sure. But since the integration, I'm a little different now, and ADHD has been kicking my ass. So I get hyper-focused on something, and then everything else, including like college stuff and including video stuff, is harder for me to put into perspective. I don't feel like editing as much. All of the videos that I have in like my video idea folder don't seem as interesting to me. However, I got the motivation to film today. And I think what has to happen is I think just some of the stuff to do with the channel and the way I make videos is probably going to have to change a little bit. Maybe it's going to be a little more casual. I'm not really sure yet. Sometimes I do appreciate quality, like with the autism and anorexia video. That was Elle that made that, but I really tried to put my whole all into it, and I still want to do that sometimes, but it's hard to find my footing whenever my attention span is so much shorter than it used to be. So I wanted to mention that. I'm kind of different now. What I want is a little different now. But I still do want to make videos, and I got this idea today that I wanted to just kind of passionately talk at the camera, I guess, about altar rules, because I've been really thinking about it a lot recently. The first thing I really wanted to say, though, is that if you are an altar that strongly identifies with altar rules, and you're like, yes, I am a protector, I am a gatekeeper, call yourself that, bro. If you're a system that feels comfortable with altar rules, that's completely cool. But I did want to talk about it a little bit and how sometimes they're kind of dumb. So I'd like to talk about that. And the first thing I wanted to say is that all of these terms, most of these terms, are created by doctors and stuff. They're not created by people with DID. And whenever the DID community really started coming into themselves and discovering hey, we have DID and that's pretty chill, we looked into the research and we adopted these terms. And I wanted to start out by talking about ANPs and EPs. So ANPs are apparently normal parts. So they're these parts that don't hold trauma, they're not mentally ill, they're really regulated people, they're really confident, often they're protectors, right? And then EPs are emotional parts, often parts that do hold trauma, and parts that are emotional, struggle with mental illness, that kind of thing. I wanted to start by talking about how most of the time, in most cases that I look at, parts are never really clear-cut one of these things or the other. Just like any other rando on the fucking street, they are just complex, they have emotional sides of them, and they have sides of them that can handle social situations. So it's kind of dumb to just reduce them to hey, I think this is an ANP, I think this is an EP, because alters are individuals. Yes, they were created to aid the system and they were created for the system, but they have their own interests, they have their own experiences, they have their own personality. And 99% of the population is going to experience depression or anxiety at some point in their life. So why would you expect there to just be this perfect, and maybe a lot of times there are, but most of the time these perfect ANPs are not like that. You know what I mean? They don't fit that bill exactly. And I wanted to talk about it from Max's perspective, because I am Max integrated with L. Max was a protector. He was coined a protector because, speaking as Max, one of my defining qualities is that I could just come out and be handling social situations really well. I could come out and be hey, how's it going? Yeah, man, chilling. I could talk about anything. I could really just have that, teenage boy sort of charm where you just start talking to somebody and it goes really well. And that was a probably a big reason why I was created in a lot of ways, and I think there's a lot more to why I was created, and I think I was created traumagenically, as most alters are, but I wasn't just created because of this small need to fill social situations. There's more to it, but I was coined a protector because I could go out and handle that type of shit. So I kind of fit the bill of an ANP, right? Like, I'm normal. I can go out and handle conversations, seem like a normal people. I can regulate myself. I can tame my emotions, go out and say what needs to be said. However, I equally fill the bill for EP, though, because I was not perfect by any fucking sense of the word. Like, I was depressed. I had motivation issues. I saw a dark abyss in my future. I self-harmed. I had eating disorders. Was I a trauma holder? I don't know. I have pseudo-memories, which are essentially memories that an alter has that didn't actually happen. Oftentimes, they're memories of an alter having sort of a past or a life before where they grew up, where they didn't. Oftentimes, pseudo-memories are an alter's memories of the past, of the place that they grew up, where that didn't actually happen, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up in Canada as Max. I grew up in Vancouver. I had a mother and a sister. I have a video detailing all of my memories and all of my trauma from my life before coming to the headspace. It's kind of emotional. It's weird to look back on now. But a lot of that was traumatic for me. And pseudo-memories of life before are often representative of stuff that's happened to the body in more of a bite-sized, kind of easy-to-process way, which, to me, I don't know if I really subscribe to that theory for myself, because they don't really align with what happened to the body that much, and it certainly doesn't feel more bite-sized to me. Like, those are emotional memories for me. But I hold trauma from that. But they're not body memories, so am I a trauma holder? And on top of that, I might actually hold memories from the body's trauma. I was often designed to handle social interactions with men as well. You know, who can handle social interactions with intimidating dudes like a teenage boy can, you know what I mean? And I had all of these maladaptive coping mechanisms, and I certainly was not a happy chap a lot of the time, even though I could come out and do my job, you know what I mean? Am I a trauma holder? Am I an EP? I'm an emotional person. What am I? And the answer is, I, like most of the other fucking alters that exist in the world, am a complex being, and I don't just fit the bill of ENP or ANP or protector or trauma holder or any of that stuff. And that's pretty much applicable to like all alters. Another kind of issue that I have is that whenever you assign an alter a role, you're just kind of being like, hey, this is what you are. You are being reduced to what you can do for the system. Like, when alters introduce themselves, one of the first things they gotta say is like, hey, I am Max, I am a protector. Hey, I'm Charlie, I'm the host. I am Elena, I'm the gatekeeper. You know what I mean? And yes, they were created to do something for the system. They were created for the system, but they're their own people, you know? Like, when I was Max, I would have loved to have my own body and been able to do my own things and be my own whole person. I'm not half of a person just because I'm a fragment of somebody else's brain. I am a whole person in my own right, or I was a whole person in my own right whenever I was still Max. So it's weird to have to learn how to chalk yourself up to what you can do for somebody else's head. It's kind of reductive. And a lot of times we as alters don't think about that. We're just like, oh yeah, that's fine. I was created for the system, so I'm going to introduce myself with my system role. I'm going to tie that up into my identity. And if you're really passionate about what you do for your system, then go ahead. Call yourself whatever alter role you identify with. But you have to realize, for some of you that want to think about it this way, that you are so much more than that. You are an artist, or you are somebody that's going to college for law, or you are or you are a spiritual person, or you like to read, or all of these things about you that have fuck all to do with what you can do for somebody else. You know what I mean? You don't have to reduce yourself for what you're doing for the host. It also makes the host this central part of the system, and like we've been trying to break time and time again by saying there's no original, we've just kind of learned how to replace original and be like, hey, you're actually referring to the host, where we kind of clarify, hey, there's no original, but at the same time, we're still saying, hey, this is the central person of the system, when that's not really how it is. There is no, if we're following the theory of structural dissociation, there's no main person, you know what I mean? We're all just different fragments of the same theoretical, holistic person that could have been. And we are all equally the main one, you know what I mean? The only reason the host often identifies with the birth name and stuff like that is because they have to represent and be the figurehead of the body oftentimes. But that doesn't mean that they are the main one. It just means that that's something that they've had to adapt to fit this sort of thing that needs to be done for survival. But, again, it's not all that they are. The one alter role that I'm not super upset with is gatekeepers for some reason. Because gatekeepers are often very internally involved people, and they often are focused on their system job, because it is a very intense system job that you really do have to tie up a lot of yourself into, because it takes a lot of work and you do have to sacrifice a lot of yourself to fit into that role. But I would encourage any gatekeepers out there to explore themselves beyond just what they have to do, like, who are you? What do you like? And I'd also encourage any of that for persecutors too. Persecutors, one of the worst alter role names. You can't expect us to learn how to love and respect every part of our system as an individual whenever you're going in with roles like persecutor. Yes, you can lay it on thick as much as you want. Don't call these the scary alters. They are just trying to help you. But whenever you bring in the word persecutor, you are automatically branding the biggest part of their existence as somebody that hurts. I'm just saying that alters are normal people. So I personally wouldn't want to brand them as these fixed things that they have to do for a system whenever they're just normal people. Whenever I want to describe them, I just want to describe them by their personality. And if they want to communicate what they do with this for the system because they're passionate about that as part of their thing, then they can do that. But my issue with system roles is, number one, it chalks system members down to one purpose. And number two, it's never ever clear cut. There's usually not just ANPs and EPs. It's some weird mix of them. And those are just terms that some psychologists who didn't have DID made up to emphasize how functional they are for the host, because that's what psychologists do. They think about function. They think about what things are built for. They think about why systems exist. And yeah, that's important and whatever. And yeah, that's cool. Like, psychologists, go do your thing. Go label ANPs and EPs or whatever. But as systems, we do have to recognize that we have built a culture around this. It's not just this whole psychology thing. It's also a thing that we've built, and we have to learn how to assess our relationships with our systems beyond just this weird psychology, sort of very conscientiously built and structured thing. Is that these are relationships, and a lot of who we are revolves around what we feel in our hearts rather than these strict alter terms that are very clinical, So that's just kind of what I wanted to say. Alter roles, kind of dumb sometimes. So this was Charlie. What else do I want to say? We have been calling ourselves by system roles in the past, and we might slip up sometimes. And some of us might still use our system role and want to use that and claim that for ourselves, and that's all right. Like, I'll still call myself the host, like, I don't care, you know, like, but some of us might not. My work ethic has just been different lately, and I think that I'm just more interested in making what I feel like making at a given moment, and I've had a hard time conjuring some of the passion for a lot of the topics that we've written down in our video list, and so I might have to really rethink a lot of this. A lot of my videos might be a little more chill, with a little less editing, a little less elaborate of titles, you know, a little more just like a person who wants to make videos. Kind of like not as much focused on the goal of we're going to try and get this channel to have a lot of reach, but more just I want to just make what I feel like making as an outlet, because I'm kind of struggling right now, and I think part of the reason is that I'm having such writer's block, and it's hard to participate in a lot of my hobbies that I have a passion for, and I think this is something that I could really get into again. So, Charlie out.